Star Wars, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Want to know what me and Kevin thought of it? Well, now you can find out. Head on over to patreon.com/CinemaSwirl and become a $5 backer, and you'll get access to the Phantom Menace episode of Cinema Swirl, plus all the previous episodes of Cinema Swirl. It's our show where we review bad movies. To find out more, head on over to patreon.com/CinemaSwirl. Thank you to our patrons for your support. Right, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl and 567. It's episode number 57. God damn it! I'm disappointed with that one.
There's too many numbers. They keep coming up.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because we've got a Cinema Swill on the go. And the problem is that now we've got into double digits. It's mean that I've just had a fresh run of the single digits, which are now coming up again and will continue to come up again. No one explained this to me with the rhyming structure at the start.
I think you fairly recently had an 11 there, and now you've got a 7 here. We've had several previous 7s.
Oh, should I have done 9, 10, 11? It's episode 57, because then we're not using the same one.
I mean, I'll give you like a clean take of that, and I can
do that, because then what we can do then, Sam, is that when it comes to episode number 5011, I can use 567 then, right? So that's all right, like, you know. Oh, sorry, we're gonna call it 61 normies. What's wrong? Like, don't you see it? Okay, all right. 9, 10, 11, it's episode number 57, and it's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin, settling up through the long grassy knolls of Hollywood, California, in the United States of films, that is, with my OTP, Sam Chaplin.
Hello! How you doing?
Sam, I'm doing well.
Good.
As memory last serves, you've not seen all the films, including any of the films today, with our star du jour, Julia Roberts.
Yes. Now, we put a vote up on facebook.com/CinemaSwirl to pick between 3 Julia Roberts films. Those films were Pretty Woman,
Notting Hill, which I really wanted to do, and I wanted to do so much that I reckon we can always do
Hugh Grant,
a Hugh Grant or a Richard Curtis, you know. Ooh, Curtis Pies. When we do one of those swirls later on, we could re-include that. A runaway favourite. And I was going to put in Runaway Bride to see if that would be a runaway favourite, but Pretty Woman was not just a pretty woman, but also a runaway favourite.
Yeah, we had Erin Brockovich as well in there.
Because she won an Oscar for that, so it only seemed right.
So what I will say is that the comment section on the vote was mixed. I would say that it was mixed.
Are you talking about, did you take the temperature, Sam, or did you lick your finger and see which way the wind was blowing? Because I
licked my finger, I put it in the air, and I was like, mixed. Because, so the thing with the Julia Roberts thing is that she was, well, she still is, a very, very successful actor.
And I would say,
female actor.
Female, first one we've done... because we've done a lot of actor episodes, and as rightly pointed out, we've not done anyone about any women, and I would argue that Julia Roberts is one of, if not the, most A-list of the A-list.
Yeah, I mean...
From at least this period where we often find ourselves, the 80s and 90s and the 2000s.
I think in the 90s, she was the biggest, making the most profit of any actress, I've said it, in that period. I think that was like a big whole thing. She was like the main one. Big ticket. On our
Wikipedia page, Sam,
the
dollar figures are within the first paragraph, and there's a lot of them. And I'm talking dollar figures like $2.8 billion. I'm talking dollar figures like $464 million, which is less than the first one, but still very big.
Yeah, and she won an Oscar for Erin Brockovich, so critically acclaimed, commercially successful.
What's at the comment section?
Okay. I will play devil's avocado here. A lot of the comments were simply, I don't like any of these films. These are bad films, right?
Fair.
Fine. Okay. But what I will say is that the remit of Cinema Swirl, and I think Cinema Swill has maybe muddied the waters here, is that we're not looking for the best films. No. We're looking for the biggest films. All right?
We're looking for, And sometimes that encompasses nodes of cult films.
Yeah.
Sometimes that encompasses nodes of fucking hardcore box office receipts stacked high in Julia Roberts' big fucking garage, yeah?
Sometimes we've strayed from that formula, sure. But I don't think anyone can argue that these 3 films were not big films and that they're not significant films. Regardless of whether you think they're good or bad, they're pretty big deals, I would say. From what I understand about them, and I know nothing because I'm an idiot, but just from the titles alone, I know that these are big deals.
I think there is a general feeling with certain sections of the audience where some folks don't like romantic comedies and therefore they're very averse to the very nature of it being reviewed or anything like that.
Sure.
We had similar flack when we went with Mean Girls, which isn't even a romantic comedy. That's just a comedy that happened to feature girls in it. But, like, you know, it'll be fine. We'll all get through it together. All I'll say this, right? If you're really fucking angry, is imagine being a grown man and hating romantic comedies.
Well, some people really don't like them.
Yeah, but, like, calm down. It's just a fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't worry, 2 bloody blokes are going to have a big laugh about it, all right? So everything's going to be okay.
We'll all open a can of the footy, right? And we'll talk about the big lager that was on last night. And we'll all just close our eyes and think of an idealised Britain or Ireland, whichever one you want, okay?
Yeah. One of those 2. So we go with Pretty Woman.
And if you were no, some of the Americans are thinking about an idealised America. No, that's not on offer here.
Yeah.
We do not know what to give you.
Pretty Woman won pretty considerable landslide victory for Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman, more like pretty easy win for Julia Roberts' Pretty Woman.
I would say so, yes. So that's what we're going with.
Sam, before we get into our mailings and our comings and goings, have you seen Julia Roberts in anything? What do you know of this Hollywood A-lister from Planet Blockbuster?
I don't think I know that much about Julia Roberts, other than big name. Was she in one of the Oceanses?
She was in a few of the Oceanses.
What, is she the one who's in one of the Oceans films and part of the plot is that she looks like Julia Roberts? No, maybe. I'm sure there was some, like, meta thing where she got away with something, or she managed to blag her way into something, because her character, played by Julia Roberts, looks like famous actor Julia Roberts in the thing, and it was like, whoa, what's going on here? This is very confusing.
I've seen a Ocean's 11, like, once.
Ocean's 11?
I think I may have fallen asleep during it.
Okay.
So I may have just drifted out and just been like, well, yeah, duh, it's Julia Roberts, ding-dongs, what do you think?
I sort of think I've watched Ocean's 11, I think.
Everyone has, right?
Yeah, we've all seen it. We're not necessarily watched it, but we've seen it.
It's all been on somewhere at some point in time. So have you seen her in anything other than Ocean's 11 then, or Ocean's 13, or Ocean's 12, or any of the great Ocean's movies?
Nothing immediately springs to mind. I probably have seen her in a few bits and bobs. But, hey, I hate romantic comedy, so I've probably not seen her in any of those, am I right?
We got a lot of romantic comedies here. I mean, we're talking Notting Hill, we're talking Runaway Bride, we're talking My Best Friend's Wedding, we're talking Everybody Says I Love You, we're talking Something to Talk About, we're talking about Tell Them Who You Are, we're talking about Closer.
I wish we did a podcast called We're Talking Something to Talk About.
And unfortunately, we're not talking the Ant Bully, but she only did her voice in that, so that doesn't count. So Julia Roberts is an interesting one, because genuinely an issue we had with trying to put together one of these, like, oh, let's pick like a female superstar, of like the other people we've picked. But very rarely in Hollywood, such is the way of the time period we're often in.
Yeah.
These women get leading roles that are not just romantic comedies. So in fairness, we were going to end up doing some romantic comedies here, folks.
Yeah, by nature of bloody Hollywood, am I right?
Sam, what is the most romantic thing that you can think of in the world? The most romantic thing that could happen? And let's see then if Julia Roberts, through this performance, can match that in any way, shape, or capacity.
Okay, so picture this. You're at the Pizza Hut lunch buffet.
Oh, come on now.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You've had one too many slices.
Sorry, Sam. You didn't tell me that you're going to switch Richard Gere's on me here now. Come on. We're in 5th Richard Gere now.
And you go up to the ice cream machine. You know, the kind of soft serve ice cream machine. You can put any of your toppings on there.
Oh, is that the one that goes...
Yeah, the one. Yeah, go there.
Yeah, I like that.
You pull the thing down, but it malfunctions.
Oh!
And the ice cream, just the kind of liquid cream, just splatters out and it goes right down your trousers.
Sam, have you been on the clips for sale again? Because we're getting very specific here now. And then Julia Roberts walks up and goes, "You've ruined your trousers. What have you done?"
As you turn around, you make eye contact with someone like Julia Roberts, and you're trying to kind of bumble your way out of it. No, it's not what. Terrible. She's doing a promotional video for Pizza Hut. She's not there dining.
So are you telling me that Pizza Hut pivoted from Paddy McGuinness to Julia Roberts in your scenario? No. I mean, I'm just thinking about that boardroom meeting, right? Like,
I don't know for a fact that Paddy McGuinness has advertised Pizza Hut, but the thing is, if you talk about advertising anything and you just say Paddy McGuinness did it, it is a 90% certainty that he will have advertised it at some point in his life.
No, I'm pretty sure
I'm sure he has, yeah.
No, because I'm pretty sure he headed up the Merry Christmas campaign, which was to get office parties to have their Christmas do at Pizza Hut. And Christmas, yeah?
He's such a good ambassador for so many brands, is Paddy McGuinness. Now, you said, what's the most romantic thing you can imagine? And I just went through some kind of embarrassing incident. And that tells you a lot about my brain.
Keeping on the Paddy McGuinness thing, I think like the most romantic thing, I mean, like, let's go back to the Paddy McGuinness because he did an ad for Greggs, didn't he? The sausage roll.
Yeah.
And it cut to, it's on a misty moor. Like, what's happened here on this misty moor? And there's a car there, and it's kind of like bit of action going on, a little back and forth, a little "How's your father?" You think, oh, is he going to put his hand on it like in the Titanic? And then he go in and he's got a sausage roll and he's like, the things I'm going to do to you. And then, now this is where the memory lapses. He either eats it or he fucks the sausage roll, and I can't remember which one it is that he does. But one of those is the most romantic thing. You can pick.
I also remember a Paddy McGuinness advert for cream eggs where it looked like he was going to fuck the cream egg.
Are you serious?
Giving flowers to a cream egg, or like the cream egg was on like a sexy pillow and he was like lying next to it.
All right, because I'm just saying, I only saw the print media version of the campaign for Christmas for Pizza Hut, so I don't know if he wanted to fuck a pizza in that one. Like, if there was a video version where it's like, book your office party here now, come here, you know?
Really stuffing that... No,
no, Sam, no. No, Sam, it's a different podcast now. No.
But Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts, I don't think I've seen her in much other stuff. If I have, I can't remember it.
But you're a fan of the US Office, aren't you?
Yes.
You know? So, I mean, there's the big reference to Pretty Woman. One of my fave goofs in the US Office involves Pretty Woman.
Maybe I've not understood that goof and I've just watched and laughed along.
They literally say, the movie Beautiful Woman is about this, and in it this scene happens, and we recreate it.
So how late on in the office is this?
I think Michael's still there, as far as I know. Okay, so you don't know the bit from the US Office referencing Pretty Woman?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, so... if you were to tell me anything you know about the plot of this movie, 1990, and to the bedrock of Americana this is. This is like a fucking cultural phenomenon, this thing, because, like, Julia Roberts, this is her first big movie, and this was still, by and large, the one she's known most for. So what do you know about Pretty Woman?
All right. I think it has got the song in it.
What song is that, Sam?
It's the song Pretty Woman, by I think Roy Orbison, maybe?
Which goes a little something like this.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, it's a pretty street. Pretty woman, the woman's pretty. She's on the street. She likes to walk down pretty. Do 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 do
do do do do do. Pretty woman walking down the street. Pretty woman, salted and cured meat. Pretty woman. Yeah, that's the second verse where they start talking about charcuterie.
That song predates the film. That's not like a tie-in song to the film.
And you can tell because Roy Orbison, he's actually a ghost in that song, isn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty woman used to walk around this street. And of course, I like with songs like that, little jaunty Hollywood numbers, that you can just stream them together, can't you? Pretty woman is a lady. Whoa, 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 she's a lady.
So there's that song. I think Julia Roberts' character is, I believe, a sex worker in this.
Oh, I think I say the titular pretty woman.
I also think she's the titular pretty woman. I think
the pretty woman herself.
She is a sex worker.
Yeah.
If I've got that wrong, then but I think that's the case.
Why do you think that? Or what have you just heard that used? Like, where would you have?
There's a lot of kind of cultural osmosis with me.
There is, yeah.
If I hear some reference to Pretty Woman and, you know, that kind of stuff, it's all kind of lodged in there somewhere from other cultural things. There's also, I think, a scene with a shoe, perhaps?
A shoe?
A shoe? A pair of shoes? And is she refused the shoes?
Like, you can't have these. They're not for you.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm the titular pretty woman. I can have these shoes. And then she walks down the street in the shoes, and the song plays.
Sam, here's a question, because you said that you cultural osmosis and people might make reference to it. Say a man and a woman come into a dinner dance now, and you've got your mashed potato, you've got your top side of beef, and it's beef to the heels of a Mullingar heifer, so it's very good stuff indeed.
Yeah.
And then your friend leans over to you and he wipes his mouth and he says, bit of a pretty woman situation going on over there now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Would you think that's a bad thing? Is that a good thing?
Bit of a pretty woman situation going on over there.
What's going on over there? Oh, it's a bit pretty woman, if you know what I'm saying.
What, that there's a pretty woman over there? And I should...
No, and that they're clear that they're making reference to the movie and not just like, you see that over there? That's what we call a pretty woman situation. It's when a pretty woman
At 3 o'clock,
lights up the room.
Yeah. A pretty woman situation in a restaurant.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a restaurant. It could be in the discotheque where you're ding-dong disco dancing.
I don't know.
Is it a bad thing?
Sounds bad.
Like, is this movie a happy movie, or is this movie about, like, kind of... Is it going to be, like, look at the sad side of being a sex worker, if that's what you think it is?
I'm sure it all works out okay in the end for the pretty woman and Richard Gere, who I also don't know from anything, really.
So are you expecting a yay, or is it like kind of it's an ironic title, Pretty Woman, and it's actually kind of a dark story or something like that? Or do you not know?
I don't know. I didn't assume it would be sad.
Okay.
I thought there'd be, you know, a classic narrative dip here and there where it's like, oh, maybe I'm not such a pretty woman. And then at the end she's like, actually, I am a pretty woman. Look at these shoes. Look at me walking down the street. Or she's like, I don't need the shoes. I'm better than the shoes. I'm focusing on the shoes.
You are focusing on the shoes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like that song, The Christmas Shoes. Just shut up about it for a second now.
This film is called Pretty Shoes, isn't it?
It is, yes.
The film, yeah, okay.
Yes, it's the prequel to Kinky Boots, Pretty Shoes. And then we done upgraded it all. Yeah? What's the matter?
Right. So... other than what I've touched on there, I don't really know what happens here.
Do you know anything about Richard Gere? Seen him in anything?
No.
Heard his voice? Seen his
voice.
soft face?
I think I sort of know what he looks like, but I don't know much of him.
He kind of blends in a bit, doesn't he, with the kind of gentleman of that age.
An older actor.
An older actor who was probably
mature.
Still playing the oldish actor in his 40s, and he's eked a career out of that for like 30 years. I don't mind Richard Gere. I know nothing about him. I just know that he hates China. I don't know anything else.
What?
So like,
what? There's always fucking something with these blokes, isn't there?
He does. All the stuff on Google when I was searching about him earlier. It's just because like anytime we're coming up with a movie with an actor I'm not doing, I'll just be like, I'll search him just dry and just see what comes up.
Yeah.
And all the stuff for Richard Gere is like,
China.
I'm boycotted from Hollywood because I hate China and I'm sticking it to the man. Like,
wow. I mean, okay, Richard. I don't know. I don't understand what's happening there. But now I know that as well. So I know sort of what he looks like and that he doesn't like China.
He just didn't like China. But surprisingly, the movie's still done very well in China, Pretty Woman. It's a global smash.
Well, there we go.
And why don't we segue and globally smash open the mailbag?
Oh, just getting in there, smashing it open.
Smash.
It's solidified over the winter. It's frozen over, so just smash it up.
Oh no, all of your letters have got freezer burn. We can't read out your Twitter handles.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Welcome to the mailbag. Thank you for your questions, queries, comments, and other stuff to the socials and to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Oldest ride, longest line.
Yes. Our first question comes into that very same email address.
Didn't I tell you now? Yeah?
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 This first question comes into that email address. It's from Sam from Wigan, who asks...
Whoa. Sam, you didn't just go to Wigan and send this, did you? Because we have agreed that there's going to be a purity with this mailbag. We're not going to paper it.
No. However, the question is for me. Question for Sam. So you can see why this one stuck out to me.
Of all your accomplishments, which one
Question for Sam. Number 1, why are you such a great guy? Number 2, I recently went to the cinema with my partner and had the pleasure of having the picture all to ourselves. So the cinema, the screen, all to themselves. That's great, by the way. This posed a more philosophical discussion between us during the beginning of the movie. If there's a screening with no one in it, does the film still play? We are hoping Sam can shine any light on this. Keep up the great work. Now, the reason why he's saying I can shine some light on this, for maybe listeners who haven't heard the episodes where I talk about how I used to work at a cinema, is that I used to work at a cinema. So
yes, so we've got VIP access. We get to go behind the scenes and see where the Oscars get made.
So you might think that if a film doesn't sell any tickets, but is still scheduled, it might still just run anyway.
So I've 2 theories on this, and I'm not saying that
I can confirm. At least in my case,
I'm going to pitch these to you, the expert here.
Sure.
Theory 1 is that they will give it 5 or 10 minutes into the actual screening, and then they'll shut it down. And theory number 2 is that it's so much of it costs so much energy, or is such a rigmarole to actually start the thing up, that it's just as efficient to actually just let it run the whole time than to... Because I know some of them cameras are big. If it's an old, one of them old projectory types, I should say, not a camera, maybe it's easier just to let it run than to have to turn it down.
Right, okay, yeah.
Load it back up, shovel more
To
coal
wind down
on
the
it.
machine takes too much effort. You may as well just leave it go.
If the washing machine was on, Sam, and I realised I'd accidentally not put the whole load in, I'd probably let it complete its cycle as opposed to stopping it, taking out all the wet clothes and putting them in with dry clothes, That
might be less energy efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so what I will say is that your first theory is mostly correct.
Ooh.
In so much as I have never encountered a situation where no one has turned up to a screening apart from the latest possible screening of a film.
All right, late at night. And obviously as well, right, if you're a projectionist and it's right, it's the 11:30 screening, am I putting on Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King?
Well, this is the thing.
Or am I going home?
Yeah. So, I have been in a very hard place before where I have been working on the box office, selling tickets, and there is a film that will be showing at, say, 12:30 at night, finishing at 2 in the morning or some shit. And if that doesn't sell any tickets, everything gets wound down early and we all get to go home early.
That's official. That's not
so this is not me, but some managers and some projectionist people and all that. Well, I say projectionist. A lot of it is automated. That's another thing. There's not necessarily someone in there turning on things. There's someone who will maintain it and make sure everything's ticking over, but it's all kind of run, on schedule.
Movies showing themselves. Think about that.
So I've been in a situation where several managers have said to me, we hope that you don't sell tickets for this film because we want to go home early.
So are they expecting you to do the kind of the cold sell then? If someone comes up, you're like, oh, you don't want to see this. It's got orcs in it. Oh, it's a whole thing with a ring.
Because we had to put on a showing. I say put on a showing. Let a showing continue for one person who showed up 5 minutes before the film was scheduled to start. And just came in and watched it. And that, set everything back by ages. But I've also been in situations where it hasn't sold and everyone's like, yay, we get to go home. So I think if no one's in there, it doesn't get shown because to keep the lights on and the electricity... What?
How's about that? I never would have thought.
I thought you said, how does it know that? How does the automated machine know that? How does it figure it out? Someone goes in and just goes, no, don't do that one for now. But I think your theory about, you'd need 5 or 10 minutes of the film to start. But I don't think that happened for the later ones. I think it was just like, no one's come in, let's wind this down.
And of course, you're only speaking about one chain of cinemas.
There could be different policies.
And I maintain in like a cinema where there was like a classic projector or something like that, it would be a whole other damn system.
I love the idea of a film screening where there's no one there and that it just plays, and it's like that is really interesting and philosophical in a way that, like,
it is like, I mean,
you could show a film to no one. Yeah. So thank you for that question, Sam from Wigan.
And Sam from Wigan, thank you for the haunting image of empty, sad
with no
movie
one there.
theater with no one there.
Also, it is really nice when it's just you and someone else, or just a small group of people in a screening.
I don't know, Sam. You and someone else. How about it's just you, Jack, and Jill, and you're there having a good time in the movie house.
All right. Our next question comes in on Facebook from Mike, who asks, "Will Kevin get angry because I've asked this question on the socials rather than using cinemaswirl@gmail.com, brackets that's cinemaswirl@gmail.com?" That's a question presumably for you, Kevin.
Well, no, I'm not, because you've actually gotten like 2 slight plugs in there for the mailbag. Which, that's guerrilla. You just become a guerrilla marketer and you didn't even know. So how about that?
And that was Mike's whole question. So thank you for that, Mike. Next question from Alana, who asks, now, I think we've touched on this question before, but I just wanted to read Alana's story. So her question is, have you ever chosen the movie to see on a date and have it backfire on you? Ooh. I think we've maybe talked about dodgy dates. I don't have any personal anecdotes, but Alana says that when she was 14, a cousin's friend asked me to the movies. I thought he was cute, so I went. Instead of seeing Double Jeopardy like I was hoping, we went with his choice, which was Stigmata. It was horrifically scary for me, and as a result, I never interacted with him again. So,
yikes!
Have you had a situation like that where the movie choices maybe goes to someone else and it's so bad that it... Or just any kind of bad movie dates at the cinema? I don't know if I have.
I mean, like, when me and Joe, one of our very first dates, we went to see the Postman Pat movie in the cinema, and we both knew it was going to be a disaster, and it was great. It was beautiful. It was like going to watch the Hindenburg crash. I mean, I know there was other times where, like, early in dates where I think Joe and I went to see Rise of Planet of the Apes, and, like, she hadn't seen any of the Planet of the Apes stuff, and it was, like, all these apes on horseback going, "We must defeat the humans," and she was just like, "There's monkeys here," and everyone's like, "Shh, take these monkeys seriously, please." But, I mean, I'll never compete with my dad who took my mum to see Alien on his first date.
Yeah.
Like, fucking idiots. Like, just think about that. Anytime I go back and listen to that Alien episode, I think how close this podcast not existing because me not being born is almost a dead cert. Like, what a fucking turn off that movie is.
All right, thank you, Alana, for that question. Next question from Liam. This is a fun question. What TV shows are you both into or have loved? I know Kevin likes Oz, but not sure what shows Sam likes. So I'm going to just go through some shows here.
I mean, there's obvious ones that we always... I mean, Sopranos is an obvious one for here, right?
Yeah. Lost. You ever heard of it?
Little thing called Lost.
Little ABC television series called Lost.
And I like the second to last episode before the finale. It was like a special cast reunion. They called it A Little Thing Called Lost.
But Damon Lindelof, one of the showrunners of Lost, went on to be the showrunner and creator of, or co-creator of The Leftovers, which I highly recommend. The Leftovers is very good. An HBO show about, like, I think 5% of the population just disappearing.
That's a Philip K. Dick concept right out of the jar there is what that is. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. It's
handled brilliantly. And the ending of that is one of my favourite endings of any TV show ever, which just shows that Damon has learnt from Lost ending weirdly and everyone being like, "What the fuck did you do, Damon?" So, The Leftovers very good.
Your Succession,
we both like Succession.
Yeah.
Yes. You can't make a...
Can't make a Tomlet without breaking a few Gregs. I think about that at least twice a day, every day since I've seen it.
Yes. Succession, I think we were both just saying, just watch it. It's great. It's really good. Oh, and Nirvana the band, the show.
Oh, that's a shared love.
Plug that enough. Watch Nirvana the band, the show.
And you know what I love most about Nirvana the band, the show? I know it's quite an obscure show to rave about, but I feel it is a show that is totally your sense of humour that you could not have watched without this podcast.
No, there are a whole abundance
sizable
of
chunks
movie references all over the shop that I now get because I've been doing this podcast. So I came to it at the right time. It existed at the perfect time for me. So if you like, you kind of almost spaced like TV references, but really lovingly crafted, and also just a really silly sitcom.
High concept.
Yeah, kind of, but filmed documentary style with some reality blended. It's genius. Also, Instant Hotel on Netflix if you want some trash TV. It's like Four in a Bed, but in Australia, and super dramatic. And Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen is one of the judges. And Richard Osman's House of Games on BBC is my new favourite quiz.
And also for me, anything involving Greg Wallace, Eat Well for Less, Inside the Factory, MasterChef Professionals, MasterChef, Celebrity MasterChef, Junior MasterChef.
Which is your favourite MasterChef? If you could only have one of the various MasterChef offshoots, including regular vanilla MasterChef, which would you choose?
Unquestionably MasterChef Professionals.
Okay.
You've got people who are meant to be the best at what they do, being put in really high pressure, very fair situations where they're expected to either excel or not, and it's great because you can go and watch it and then be like, I bet I've been at a restaurant where someone like that has been not very good at cooking. You know, and that's always a good feeling. Deadwood, obvious ones, Deadwood, The Wire, 60s Batman, the original Twilight Zone, the Batman animated series, Nathan Barley. I mean, Better Call Saul, better than Breaking Bad also, it should be known as. I'm saying it. Come on, fight me, yeah?
It's very good.
It's better, is what it is.
It's very good, yeah.
That's why it was Breaking Bad it's actually bad is actually what it is, and Better Call Saul, isn't it? Like,
Because it's better. Right, yeah, I get it now. So thank you for that question, Liam. We could go on about that all day. Finally, I just want to mention that Jeff Maxfield sent in some absolutely fantastic fan art to us, which I know we said don't do it.
Excuse me?
I know.
Excuse me?
Bad, Jeff. Jeff, what have you done?
Oh, no, and look at it there now, right on the fridge. Sam, can you give me a hard copy of that?
Let's see if I can get this up.
All right, enhance main screen.
So Jeff has drawn my...
Look, it's the man!
It's a man story, but with an actual ape from Planet of the Apes pointing at me.
That's from the Planet of the Apes episode, I'm assuming?
Yes, which is fabulous.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Don't send us any fan art.
Stop
Don't
that.
Do it.
My God.
But thank you, Jeff.
Look at it there, right there on the fridge. Unbelievable. Oh my God.
But that will probably be up on the socials for you to have a look at, because it is wonderful. But don't do it. Don't be encouraged by that to send any more stuff. All right.
It's wonderful, but is it pretty? Because we're going to go watch Pretty Woman now. Like that, huh? You hear that in the background. You hear the it's building up now, isn't it? The spirit of Roy Orbison is rising from the dead.
When you did it's wonderful, but is it pretty? You were genuinely looking around for other people to be like, Pretty Woman walking down the street. I mean, it'd be a shame if she didn't walk down the street at some point in this film.
Do you think you're going to have a good time?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've been on pretty much a hot streak of movies you've enjoyed recently, right?
Yeah, so it would be a shame for this to drag the average down.
Now, the only thing I think is that this could be a movie from the time period of well-meaning for 1990, but may age badly. And I've not seen this since I was like fucking 14 or whatever. So this is going to be an interesting one.
We might have some things to say. We might not. Who knows? But we'll have things to say, obviously, like just in general.
Will we have things to say? Only one way to find out. Let's go do a cinema swirl. And we're back. We're back here with some Pretty Woman action. We just watched Julia Roberts and Richard Gere have chemistry like a chemistry classroom in a school that has got a special chemistry division. Sam, initial gut reaction to the romantic 90s romp.
Come on, England. We can score a goal. Come on, England. Oh, look, it's Scholes. Come on, England. We're playing football. We're kicking balls. We're gonna get a goal past you.
All right, because earlier in the day I was walking around the house and I was like, could I do a footy chant? I went, England, scoring all the goals, England. Put on Tommy Knowles, but Tommy Knowles has already been put on, hasn't he?
I've snuck in Paul Scholes.
Scholes instead, because Tommy Knowles, obviously, the much beloved defender, was put in the Nightmare Before Christmas episode.
Yeah.
So Scholes is a different, unique character.
But your real question was, what did I think of the film? Initial gut reaction, yeah.
Yeah, I like when I get the medium of sounds as opposed to the medium of songs for your initial gut reaction, but... Yeah. Right, can we just get this bit right out of the way?
Sure.
Right at the start. Because I do think in the pre-swirl, I was a little bit hesitant about the movie, thinking that it may have gotten a touch of that old Breakfast Club syndrome that I was telling you about. In that something that seems a bit kind of cutting edge and cool in the late 80s or early 90s, even if it's in earnest and means well, can come off very, very badly in the modern times.
Sure.
And I will say, there are a couple of very notable exceptions.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you go into this with a general sense of naivety and particularly about sex work and whatnot, it's a bit it's all right, isn't it? It's not like...
Did you say it's a bit of all right?
It's a bit all right, isn't it? Hey.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I didn't come away from this thinking, oh, Jesus, that's aged terribly.
I mean, think about this, right? You know, Big, that was ironically, a big example that was of this exact thing. And that's something that was fine then, just seemed really weird now. And I just figured alarm bells were ringing because Julia Roberts does play a prostitute in this, and Hollywood has not been known to have the most open-minded interpretation of that job.
No. However,
even if this is more open-minded, this might be more open-minded to include incredibly naive, and she's an exception, and everyone else is a drug addict except Julia Roberts.
I imagine for the time, this was reasonably, not progressive, but like, okay-ish.
I mean, it was changing it up a bit. Like, this was definitely risque in an italics font, you know, for the Sunday magazine at the time. But I think, generally speaking, it's not aged as badly as some of the other kind of, particularly the romantic comedies of the past swirls.
Not quite as badly as we might have thought, although I'm sure there's stuff that maybe, through our viewpoint, we might have missed out on and not understood how bad it was. But, you know.
That's true. And obviously, we're only coming from more credibly ignorant viewpoints, which is why I initially, before watching the movie, before sitting down, I googled, has Pretty Woman aged well? Right? And I
see what Google thought.
So what Google thought, see what some of the slideshow news thought of it. And I went through 3 different ones, and all 3 of them, 9 of the top 10 things were all like, those shoulder pads, sweetheart.
Okay.
That's not held up well. The wig in the first scene, that's not held up. So generally speaking, it doesn't seem that people have not like reappraised Pretty Woman and put it off its high shelf of lovely romantic comedy, it seems, to still enjoy that reputation.
Yeah, I think so. Again, I'm not involved in, you know, the world of this film. I don't know much about it. I didn't know much going in. But I haven't heard any kind of like, fuck this shit. Whereas some of the films we've picked for Swirls and Swills, there has occasionally been a little bit of, oh boy, you don't want to be doing this one because there's some stuff's going to come up.
Yeah.
But not so much with this.
No, and I think there was just a natural hesitation given the subject matter.
Yeah.
I thought we just mentioned that right at the offset.
Sure.
Hey, how about the lovely big font at the start of this movie?
Oh, it's a big font.
Oh, woo. God.
Yeah.
That font is the equivalent of a bay window, Sam, is what that is.
It's a big old font. You know what else is in this? It's only bloody George Costanza off of Seinfeld. He's there being wonderfully insufferable in his own way.
Hang on a second. I thought you were positively an anti-sign head.
Oh, I am. Yeah.
And this is before he even find out he dated a child as well, folks. Bear that in mind.
Not me, you know. Wait, what?
No. Well, I'm saying that you didn't like him before you knew.
I still don't know that.
Oh, you only found out?
I thought you were saying Sam doesn't like Seinfeld, and this is before you guys find out that he dated a child. I'm like, whoa, no.
No?
Look.
Okay, just so we're very crystal clear.
No. Oh, Jerry Seinfeld. I thought you meant Costanza.
No.
Jerry Seinfeld, I am well aware that
the implication is not that neither Sam, nor Jason Alexander, nor George Costanza, nor the fictionalized version of Jerry Seinfeld from Seinfeld, none of them dated a child.
But Jerry Seinfeld...
But Jerry did date someone underage. He did.
That is established fact. I don't think anyone's even denying that. However, this is Jason Alexander, who is not Seinfeld. He was in Seinfeld, the television show.
Exactly. He was just in a show with someone who happened to do a racist thing and someone who happened to date a child. And the amazing Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who we'd seen, of course, in National Lampoons. So, a mixed bunch.
Yes. And they're at like a swanky kind of business party type thing.
Oh, yeah. It's catered.
And Richard Gere, he's on the phone. He sounds like he has a bad relationship with his girlfriend, I believe.
It was either ex-girlfriend or ex-wife who's still having to do the kind of the social commitments. And she's like, you can't have me at your beck and call. And I always thought beck and call would be a great name for like any sort of a business. Like,
Yeah, beck and call.
Yeah, beck and someone who's got the surname call could, join up together as well. If you don't do it, Glenn Beck will. So you really need to get on that. Now, Sam, I was wondering, between Richard Gere and Jason Alexander, which of these two gentlemen is wheeling and which ones are dealing?
I would say that, Richard Gere has to borrow a sports car to wheel down through Hollywood, and Jason Alexander is he's kind of networking. He's like that kind of smarmy businessman trying to make sure everyone's okay and getting in with everyone but not really being sincere. He comes across as a jerk straight away.
He's a bit greasy, isn't he?
Yeah, whereas Richard Gere comes across as a jerk in just a kind of jerk way. He's just like a...
Richard Gere can't help that, though, Sam. That's just how he looks, isn't it? Like?
Yeah. But he really... Well, Jason Alexander ironically grinds my gears, but Richard Gere just Jason's my Alexander's, I'm just
I understand it. I get that. And of course, Richard Gere gets out with the souped-up hot rod. And Sam, that's what we call the art of the wheel.
And we get some great late 80s music to go along with this. I know this was released...
Fucking hell, it's so full of life, this soundtrack.
Chock-a-block full of 80s bangers. I mean, I know this was released in 1990, but this feels 80s, this film.
This is like, 90s, we're fine because we're standing on the shoulders of the giants of the feel-good romantic power ballads of the late 80s, of which there are several. You know what, Sam? We don't get Pretty Woman until an hour into this movie. I checked, and I didn't even mind. No. I didn't mind because we had such a good time with the music beforehand.
Bunch of bangers. So he's got to go down to the Hollywood Boulevard, right? In his fast car. Well, he's borrowed a car off his mate.
If films is like a beating heart, then Hollywood Boulevard, that's the fucking Vena Cava, mate, It takes the deoxygenated films.
He's going there to stay at this hotel to do some business meetings and stuff.
Can we agree that Richard Gere has, ironically, one gear, and that gear is Richard Gere? And this bit at the start of him struggling with the gearbox, it's like, come on, Richard, why don't you try be angry or sad or happy? He's like, no, I can't. I can only do this one kind of bemused, sophisticated, I'm like your dad, but I'll never tell you I'm proud. What are you?
I never twigged that he's Richard Gere, but he can't do the gear shifting in this, which is quite funny.
Yeah, they should have cast Richard Automatic in this in that respect. I think it's important as well, and something that I had forgotten about with this movie, is that even though it does give a very glossy, kind of glamorized, idealistic Hollywood fairy tale vibe to the whole prostitution business, they do at the start show you a lot of people like straight up with their drugs.
There's drugs.
Their cracks and their cranks.
There's dead bodies being photographed by tourists, which I think was a nice little Hollywood moment there. And that's Hank Azaria, isn't it?
Yeah.
Off of The Simpsons, just being an FBI guy being like, oh God, the tourists are photographing this dead body. Yeah, I mean, Hollywood Boulevard, that general area, that red light district, I believe, is not Hollywood. I don't know if Hollywood Boulevard is in itself. Anyway, that area is not shown in a flattering light. It's all very grim and grotty.
I've heard of the bright lights of Hollywood, but the red lights of Hollywood?
Our introduction to Julia Roberts' character is alarm clock going off. She's in bed. You see a bit of a nice bum, some posh knickers.
And what I wrote down there is, there it is now.
Yes, and she's a very attractive lady.
And she's taken all the heads of the boyfriends off all of her pictures.
Oh, I thought you meant like there was a secret subplot where she's a serial killer.
And removes their heads.
She's beheaded several men.
That's a different movie. Well, I always wondered if it would be like a real power play if you broke up with someone and cut your own head off all the pictures and be like, boom, you were fucking dating a headless man, you fucking weirdo. Joke's on you.
And a nice little gag I enjoyed was Richard Gere. He's trying to get to the boulevard, and he asks, like, hey, how do I get to Hollywood Boulevard? And some old man is like, you're already here! That's Sylvester Stallone's house! Pointing to, like, some dump house.
And he's like, Beverly Hills, that's where I wanna
be! Julia Roberts' character, Vivian, and her friend, I can't remember her friend's name, they establish that they don't want a pimp. And they're very clear on we say who, we say when, we say how much. So they're independent workers here. I'm being very kind of cautious about what I say.
You're right, because they do, like, there's like this little bit where they basically turn to the camera and they're like, we're not like the prostitutes you think, because number one, we don't have a pimp and we all set all these rules that we don't, we don't do this, that and the other. And also as well, then Julia Roberts is like, subsection, unlike all of my peers within this subsection, I don't do drugs.
Yes.
All the others are all like kind of like, oh, I spent the rent money on some sort of a crank or no doubt, and they're making out that they're an awful rabble, that lot.
And the two of them, they see good old big old plonker Richard Gere in his fancy sports car and think, well,
sorry.
Here we are.
I just love the idea of in England if someone used the word plonker to describe someone's dick.
They see Richard Gere's plonker.
They say, well, look at that plonker. I think plonker is the least sexy word in the universe.
Possibly. Yeah, I think if you heard that in a sexy context, it would immediately take you out of the moment. They see him in that car and they think, well, this guy, let's approach him. Her friend lets Julia Roberts say, no, you go get this one, right? And so she goes over and he's just asking for directions. He's like, how do I get to this hotel? Where am I going? And she's like, well, I can tell you, but $5. He's like, what? Whoa, what's going on here? Well, the price has just gone up, mate. And I like this kind of thing. This is pre-Google Maps.
Him being from New York, he'd never really have to ask for directions or anything like that normally. So he's really a fish out of water in this situation.
Absolutely.
And it turns out, Sam, that Viv is not only is she not like most prostitutes, she's not like most anything, because she's a fucking straight up piston freak. She's a car head, and she knows how to drive stick, unlike Richard Gearbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, am I right? I do like as well all the scenes at the start where she's out in the streets. If you look in the background, loads of random extras who walk by just go like, duh. And I thought that was very funny. There's lots of staring going on that you're very aware of. So he finds out her rate and she's like, it's $100 an hour. And he's like, $100 an hour? That's pretty hard. Like my dick isn't. And she's like, yeah, it isn't.
That was kind of weird. The kind of reaching over, grabbing the dick, being like, no, but it's got potential, is what she says there.
Oh, no, that's how you accentuate the positives right there,
Not erect, but, I imagine maybe that would be good if it was.
Look, Sam, some of us like to view that the glass is half erect with water, and some of us simply view the glass as having potential, that's all,
Couple of things I made note of. Richard Gere's first car was a limousine, according to Richard Gere's character here, which is just very funny, the idea that your car, his car would be a limousine, presumably chauffeur driven. But
I mean, I imagine if you learned how to drive a limo, you'd be pretty sorted, because that's a massive car, and if you can park a limo, you could park a Citroen Saxon,
or
a bus. Whatever.
And also, she reels off a lovely QI-style fact. Did you know that your foot is as big as your arm from your elbow to your wrist? I was like, holy, that's blown my mind.
Your foot is as big as your arm?
From your elbow to your wrist. So before your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
all the way up to the elbow?
Yeah. If I put my foot on
there now.
Hold on, Kevin.
Slow as
I'm putting my foot. Look, yeah.
Sam, wow. The only reason though, all right, because you said that, and then I looked at my arm and I went, I've got a fucking massive foot though. Like I'm size 12. You a big foot boy?
I was going to try and get a photo of me doing it to put on the thing, but it's so gross that I don't actually want to put that on the internet.
Oh, Sam Nook, we'll never get fan art or wiki feet entries at this rate. This is ridiculous.
But believe me, for listeners at home, my foot is as big as from my elbow to my wrist. That's a nice little fact. If you take nothing else away from this film, take that away.
It's an on-point fact. Here's an on-point 90s observation where they go up to the penthouse suite in the posh hotel full of poshos, and he's like, key cards. I'm Miss Keys, you know what I'm saying? I'm Richard Gere over here.
What's the deal with these keys?
I'm trying to give some personality, because Richard Gere, bless him, he's a bit of a mumbler.
He is a bit of a mumbler. He's got a very low kind of...
And, I will say as well, I would rarely call this out, but this has happened to me like 3 or 4 times now on this particular service.
Sure.
But we watch movies from a variety of places.
Yeah.
I watch some on Netflix. I watch some on Amazon. I watch some on Now TV. I watch some on physical media from the DVD shop.
Yep.
And sometimes I watch some on the old Google, because Google, I might do them little surveys, and you get a little money for doing little surveys, and I use that money. If I do enough surveys, I can get the movie for Cinema Swirl that week for free.
Very nice.
But they don't have subtitles on them, and they don't tell you that ahead of time. Yeah. And surely, I just like subs because, I like subs and dubs, folks. That's just me. But a lot of people need them subs. What's going on? You need to be telling them that. That's bullshit.
Rude. Speaking of rude, all the posh people in the fancy hotel are doing a lot of judging of Vivian here.
Oh, hardcore judging.
And so, she's aware, she amps it up for comic effect. She likes to, goof on these people and make fun of them by doing overtly, sexual, oh, me? What? Sexy
and I like
prostitute.
how in the 90s you could shop people being like, look, I'm not wearing tights. And it's like, oh my fuck! Call sound the alarm!
Yes. They're in the penthouse, and she wants to get right down to business, because that is her business. Literally, that is her business. And so she's getting out her kind of Rolodex of condoms here. And saying,
the big gold one, which looks like it came with a special prize inside. That was an impressive thing.
The gold circle coin, the condom of champions, the one and only, nothing is getting through this sucker.
I mean, that's good to know. So what she's saying is, you can really...
The rest of these... Not,
I might get pregnant. What's going on there?
This gold one is great.
Why do you only carry one of the ones that's really good? What the frig?
I mean, it looked solid. God, it looked like it wasn't going to move.
I mean, it looked like he was going to go and get on with the business itself without any involvement from Richard Gere. He looked very competent and capable in its own right.
But Richard Gere's character, Edward, doesn't want to do any banging just yet. He just wants to chat. He's
not like most of these run-of-the-mill business boys. He's too mature and mysterious, and like that dad you never really got to know. So he is a kind of plays this aloof character. And I will say, right, with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, they have an instant fucking poppin' chemistry. These two fucking sizzle. And that says a lot, because I don't think Richard Gere's got a whole lot of range, and Julia Roberts is fucking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed here, and I think the two of them pop off each other.
It does work well. Yeah, I can see why this relationship, this kind of chemistry, resonated with viewers.
And as well, it wasn't meant to be her originally. It was going to be Meg Ryan, or also Madonna was also attached to it. Yeah. And the original version of this movie was a whole other set of affairs altogether. It was going to have a really dark ending. It's going to be called $3,000, and Julia Roberts was not cast in it at this point, but it was going to have this real kind of gritty side to it, that she was going to be this kind of home-wrecking prostitute almost, who fucks his life up. And the end of the movie was apparently going to be him throwing the $3,000 at her from his car, and she's in the gutter, and he drives off. And it's meant to be a happy ending. And the credits roll.
$3,000. Throw it on the street.
That's all I owe to you. So yeah, that's good to know, because I think Disney actually are the ones who bought this in the end, and they're the ones who waved the saccharine magic that gave us the much less fucking shocking movie that we probably wouldn't be talking about if it was called $3,000.
Yes, I want to draw your attention to a solid gag here.
Yes, please.
She thinks he's a lawyer. He asks, "What makes you think I'm a lawyer?" You've got that sharp, useless look about you. Which, lawyer jokes from the 90s. Yes, please. Nom, 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 nom. Eat them up.
She's what most people in the pitch meeting would describe as a firecracker, I imagine.
Yeah.
Also, she's a straight up glugger. She glugs that champagne. Doesn't care about the windy pops.
Yeah, I mean, she's supposed to be having those strawberries to bring out the flavour of the champagne. Strawberries bring out the flavour of the champagne. But she's just like, this is nice, tasty champagne. These are nice, tasty strawberries. Lovely
and
stuff.
he just kind of like sits and like mysteriously smiles to himself all the time. Like Richard Gere, this is like, he's been to the future and he knows what happens, and he's just like happy to let this play out. He's not making a move. He's not being like, because it's not like he's, I just want to chat with you. He's like doing work and she's just watching movies and stuff. So it is kind of mysterious, and I guess that's half the charm.
She's sitting around having snacks, watching telly, having fun.
Yeah, she's watching that viral video of a woman falling in grapes. It's the Tusken Raiders.
And he's paid for the entire night because she was concerned about time and stuff. And he thinks he's caught her doing drugs, but she was just flossing. So that's kind of alleviated that fear. And at this point, he is sat there and he's looking at her.
Dental hygiene is my drug as well, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, you're addicted, mate.
I got a tongue scraper for Christmas. That's how addicted I was. And my dentist says, good job when I go for my 6-month checkup. That's how addicted I am.
That's nice.
He doesn't make fun of me for my weird dinosaur tooth. It's the first time a dentist has just been like, embrace it, man. You've got a little dino tooth.
Have you got a weird dinosaur tooth?
Yeah, look.
You got a little dinosaur tooth.
I look like I got old Champa here.
So she's having the snacks. He's just very relaxed. And I think I wrote that he's enjoying being in the company of someone who is enjoying themselves. Because he has an ex-wife, he has an ex-girlfriend. Everyone in his orbit is so busy and kind of, doesn't want to be around him.
Is this the ultimate softcore voyeurism? Do you want to watch movies and chill with me? No, I just want to watch you watch movies and chill with yourself.
Because he's not really getting involved in it.
No,
initially.
He's not. He's got faxes, Sam. He's got faxes.
He's just kind of happy that he can make someone happy.
And then, of course, they catch each other's eyes. The chemistry turns into that chemistry known as sexual chemistry. Eye contact.
Yeah.
And then they have sexy times with a raucous, old-timey comedy going on in the background. Now, like, I honestly can't get off unless there is a meme going on in the background, personally, like, or like a little like binaural keyboard cat to fill in the background or something, maybe. So I understand why they have to do that here.
Yes, but she quite rudely mutes that so that they don't hear it. And the thing that I found interesting was the little cushion by the feet for her to kneel on. It was just like a little, like, she knows what she's doing here.
It's smart. It's like in wrestling, the wrestler Roman Reigns, he comes out and he does a big fist smash onto the ground like he's a superhero. But he's got a little special blowjob pillow for his hand as well, hasn't he?
He does. And it's like, it might not seem like the most romantic thing, and it might not seem like the most passionate thing, but it's an important thing, and it's so practical. She's very practical about this.
She's the MacGyver of sex work here. It's very impressive. She's very, very capable in the situation.
We establish a big rule as well. I don't kiss on the mouth. And Richard Gere says, neither do I. And I'm like, what?
What?
What are you on about, mate? So that is significant. Don't kiss on the mouth.
And they say later it's because you form emotional connections when there's kissing involved.
Emotions are transferred via spit. You know that, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a saliva-based emotion, of course. But Julia Roberts, she had been in a Mystic Pizza and a few other bits and bobs. This is her big kind of breakout movie.
Mystic Pizza?
Mystic Pizza.
Ah.
I know, it's her first big role. But
I'm hungry now.
A Mystic... I don't know if I want a Mystic Pizza, thanks very much. I want a skeptical reality pizza. That's how you get chicken and mushrooms, all right?
No.
That's some sort of weird, mystical bullshit. But she was very hesitant with a lot of the sex scenes, apparently. Like, she broke out in, like, hives on some of the sets and all that. So it was, like, a difficult shoot in that regard. Also, fun fact, she only got paid $300,000 for this movie, which is like a pittance compared to what it made, like hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
But Julia Roberts would go on to then make like several records about making the most money for a woman in a movie ever. Like it was 20 million for Erin Brockovich and then 25 million for like Mona Lisa Small or whatever it was. So she's the biggest bankable female actor we've had on this series, I think. She makes an eye-watering amount of money, which in fairness, given that past the 3 movies that we put in the vote, there's a lot of other kind of like middling stuff, like that stuff that's considered classic, just stuff that was kind of out at the time. She's done very well for herself as Julia, crafting this career as the most well-moneyed woman in Hollywood.
Yeah, she's a big success, but this was her breakout role, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So she must have been quite young here. She looked young.
But she looks the fucking same, like, for... like, whatever about Richard Gere looked the same for 20 years. So did she. That's ridiculous. So, after the sex, there's a big phone, a bigger breakfast, and even bigger croissants. These croissants are like fucking backpacks, they're so big.
Yes, they are. They are very big. She's, again, just chomping away on croissants, asking questions with a mouthful of croissant. And Richard Gere, goes through what he does for a living.
Ah, yes, buying companies.
And then stripping them out and selling off the bits.
Now, honestly, what he described here, if you replace the word company with sausage rolls, I think he's described my dream job. You buy sausage rolls.
Break it down to its constituent parts.
The sausage rolls that some people don't want, you know, and then he breaks it down to their constituent parts and
then sells it back to Greggs. And
exactly, piece by piece. Thank you, Greggs, for buying my shit, apparently. Also, I wrote down here that Viv is brave now, and I got confused, but it's because her hair is big, curly and red.
Ah, yes. And she does look much nicer with her natural hair. Not to sound like a complete weird white knight type person, but I actually think women look better without makeup.
Girls, you don't need to wear those wigs, you know?
You're naturally beautiful.
That thing that you spend ages getting really good of and you're really proud of how good you can do it, I've decided you don't need
it.
You don't need it. It's okay.
Need it.
Unlearn the skills that you learned.
All right, darling. Yeah. you don't know. You're beautiful, love. Beautiful. Yeah. So, but she does look really nice with the big red curly hair.
I mean, no one has got curly hair. It looks that good coming out of a shower. No fucking way, right?
So Julia Roberts.
Yeah. Hey, Julia, we're going to need 20 million to do the fucking sink afterwards, if you know what I'm saying, because of all the clogs.
And Richard Gere, he's on the phone to his mate, Jason Alexander, and apparently there's a meeting going on, and he should bring a date along for this meeting. It would make sense for there to be a date coming along with him to this meeting.
If you didn't bring a date,
have a date, that would be weird, mate. You need a date for this thing. Who are you going to find?
Mate, you can't bring a mate on a business date.
No, you can't. You got to bring a date on a date. Yeah, mate? All right. So he strolls into the bath where Julia's having a bath, and she's got headphones on. She's belting out some Prince songs, and seeing that, he's like, I've already got myself a date. It's Julia Roberts.
And the deal, which is negotiated here, firm negotiation, 6 nights and 6 days, $3,000, also money for conservative brackets Tories clothes, and as well, she gets to go to all the big top dinners. And he says, even though they're sparking here now, like something, there's something here, but then he's like, and at the end of that, I will let you go. And, that's that, So he's trying to be all strictly business
Still a
here.
bit distant. Yeah. It's not coming on too strong. The negotiation was kind of almost like kind of fun.
Say what you will, Sam. The negotiations were brief.
But once the deal's done, she's like, $3,000, holy shit! And then dunks her head under the bath. She's very excited. She can't contain her joy over some of the things that happen here, and that's very endearing, I think.
Oh yeah, and she's like, she's got that spark. Everyone knows someone like this character, who's got this crazy bubbling over enthusiasm, and that so often can come across very phony and forced and a bit on screen, but Julia Roberts is just a fucking goddamn delight. She's so good, so goddamn good at this.
Now when he's like, oh, you need to get some posh clothes, alright, I thought he was going to go shopping with her, but he just like, I'm off now for business reasons, you're on your own, get some nice clothes, I'll be back.
And she goes to the shop full of the poshos, and they judge her because it's like, this is very expensive, please leave, we're rude.
I don't think this would fit you. I didn't ask if it would fit me, I asked how much it is. How much is it? It's very expensive.
Oh,
So rude.
Now, this is the thing I was talking to you before about. Do you remember the bit now from The Office? The pretty woman bit?
I still don't remember it from The Office, but I am very forgetful. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. This is why people keep rewatching The Office.
Yes, because you just need to refresh our memories. So the line that really... I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
So have you ever had a situation where you felt like pushed out a bit by some, not necessarily a posher, but someone who's like, sir, you don't belong, or this is not for you, off you go now?
The only occasions where I have were the few times I've travelled first class on a train.
Oh, choo. This is when you used to you doing on your first class travel back when we were doing stand up. I remember this. This was controversial. You come back with a bushel of biscuits.
Yes, because at certain times on certain trains, the difference between regular and first class was literally like £2 or £3. Not if you're just buying like a general ticket, but if you're buying for a specific time, there were some trains, some journeys where you could upgrade to first class for less than £5. And at every opportunity, I would do that because then I'd get a free biscuit, a free hot drink, and I'd have a little bit more room and a slightly comfier seat. But I always felt like I was like, you know, in my little t-shirt, hoodie and jeans.
Oh, was there like kind of a man with a moustache and a bowler hat going... Was Mr. Banks there giving you the stink eye like?
The first time I ever sat in first class, I was worried about that. And I thought, actually, no, it's all right. This is just people who can like afford a little bit extra and they just want that bit of extra comfort. It's not like super posh, you know, like airplanes where it's like first class. It's not like that. This is just on a train. But I sat down and someone sat opposite me and he was wearing a full suit. And
and did he go...
I saw him brush Waitrose sandwich crumbs off his table with a copy of the Financial Times. And I thought, you know what? I'm not sure I belong here necessarily, but it's okay. The other time was when I went to a really posh restaurant, like one of those tasting menu experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sort of dressed up. This is so I went to a wedding, and the wedding venue was near this really posh restaurant. It wasn't like Michelin starred, but it was like Michelin recommended. Also, it was just super, super duper big posh.
So you see, my experience at those places is always, it's only as awkward as you make it, because everyone there will be fucking delighted for someone coming to eat a fucking dinner. It's up to you to be the part that they want you to be, like.
So it was a really nice tasting menu that we had. I was there with a date, and towards the end of the meal, they brought over the cheese board, and there were so many lovely cheeses. And we looked at the cheeses, and the woman was like, which cheeses would you like? And between us, we decided on a bunch of different cheeses. We're like, have that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And we picked too many, because we thought, we're never going to really do this again. This is like a very rare experience for us. Let's have all the nice cheeses. And once we picked all the cheeses that we both wanted, the woman turned to me and went, and for you, sir? Because she thought this was just for the person I was with. And so out of embarrassment, I then ordered a similar amount of more cheese just for me. So we had a ludicrous amount of cheese, like double a normal amount of cheese.
You know what happened there then is that they went all back and they said, do you see them over there? Do you see the fucking amount of cheese they had? Jesus be with the days.
But I wasn't willing to go, oh, I've made a mistake. Sorry, I thought you meant for both of us. Can we just split that between us? I didn't want to do that. No, this is where you meant
to say, sorry, you've made a mistake by assuming that I'm some sort of a fucking cheese machine here, like, you know?
That's it. Wrong. You're in the wrong, like, you know. So that's
you wielded the cheese knife.
I felt like this. I mean, that's not really like this. I've never been like shooed away from somewhere for not being posh enough.
I was shooed away once, but I felt I was shooed away with good reason.
Right.
I was in Tokyo and on a trip, and we found the hotel from Lost in Translation, just as like being a big fucking nerd like I was. And it's like, oh, let's go up to the bar and see if we can just get a drink. And it was the middle of the day, and we were like sweaty in t-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got into the elevator, it was like, uh-oh, this is like all very gilded. We've made a terrible mistake. And we just went up and said, hi, can we get a drink? And they're like, excuse me, sir, one moment. And then they went off and they got someone else to come out and say, excuse me, sir, please go away. We do not allow... And they said, so nicely, they said, please be aware, we cannot allow anyone in with half trousers such as yours.
Half trousers is good.
Trousers. Yeah. And we were like, it's all right.
Fair enough.
You very calmly and politely explained this.
Yeah.
And how am I at odds with your establishment?
But that's not how these clothes shop women are treating poor Julia Roberts.
No, they're not even giving her half a trouser, yet alone half an iota of respect here is what's going on. And this extends as well to the hotel, where she's getting problems that seem to start from the snooty manager, Barney, because he's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm a friend of Richard Gere. And come on now, that's the name of the actor, not the character. Ed something, Eddie, Edward. Pretends she's his niece, but like no one's buying that.
Yeah, so he kind of like bundles her into a room and kind of like interrogates her, but does it in this weird kind of, look, we like Edward, he's a special guest, so ordinarily we wouldn't allow you here, but since you're his guest and we like him as a special guest, you're his niece, wink wink, I assume you're a relative and you don't have any other uncles here, which is a really weird way of putting that whole metaphor together, but it's gross.
I mean, I always thought the word John was cool to use as like, you know, a mark or whatever.
An uncle.
But an uncle? Like,
no, not having that. But he does, when she explains the whole thing with the clothes shop and being refused service, and like she's got this money but she can't do anything with it, he does do a very nice favour, rings up a posh clothing shop, or
because they've got like somewhere on retainer. This is I guess another thing that maybe the movie is like very much showing its colours, having come out of, you know, a decade of the 80s. But my god, cash is king in this movie, baby. Let me tell you, if you got cash, life is good.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. And literally here, the only problem, she's got this big like broken pile of money, and it's like, no, you're just not using it right. Let me show you how. Like,
it's a full-on wodge of cash. It's a big wodge. It's
a fucking fist of money, Sam. Is what it is. Not a fistful, an actual fist made of money.
Yeah. This new clothes lady is much nicer. She does a lot of nice shopping. We don't actually see the dress, so I anticipate we're getting a big reveal. Aren't we?
Big reveal.
And
big
also,
reveal.
Richard Gere's not coming up to the room before they meet. So, I mean, that's just setting up a big reveal.
Big reveal. Barney as well teaches her the frankly overrated table manners, and he does a really bad job, because I was told one thing when I was a kid, and that was you eat outside inwards.
Outside in.
That's all it is. Ooh, the salad fork, the biddly boof. No. What's the... Like, if you can keep track of one set of cutlery for every course, you're grand.
Yeah.
That's it.
From the outside in.
Just don't drink. Sometimes they'll bring out a little bit of hot water and a lemon if you're going to have something sticky or like finger food.
Don't drink it.
Don't drink it, because my dad did that once and it was very embarrassing.
Don't bite into the lemon either.
Not least for the fact that I had nowhere to then dab my fingers because someone had drank my cleaning fluid. And I was too embarrassed on his behalf to ask for more. Excuse me, can I have some more lemon water? My father has ingested mine. And
so she's learnt the table etiquette. She's downstairs waiting for Richard Gere.
Hot dinner days!
And he comes down, and this feels very cliched and a bit obvious, but it is quite sweet that he's like, he doesn't seem to be able to see her, and he's kind of squinting his eyes, going like, where is she? And then when she turns around, he's like, the look in his face is like, surely it can't be.
Exact same reaction to when my uncle first took my nose. I was like, where can it be?
Where is it?
Where is it? I'm squinting, and then he shows me, I'm like, stunning.
My nose just had a really nice cocktail dress on it, and that's why I didn't see it.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah. It's a weird dinner date though, because I don't know if you've ever been on a date where the other person has brought their granddad. That's like a bit fucking weird, isn't it? Like, you need a date, Eddie, because he's bringing his granddad, and your granddad's dead, so you got to bring a date.
And she's kind of, despite learning the etiquette, she's still making a bit of a pig's ear of it. But that is actually quite endearing to the old business granddad, because he can't get his head around the posh fork system.
I can't even get my head around this as well, because she's like, whoa, the salad fork, what's this for then? He's like, we have salad at the end of the meal. I'm like, excuse me?
Do you?
Salad at the end of
a meal?
What the fuck is that?
Okay, interesting.
Like, no. Like, there's only one time you can have salad at the end of the meal, and that's
fruit salad.
No, if you're having salad that's about to go off in your fridge,
right,
and at the end of your meal you're still a little bit hungry, you can make a little salad then, eat that, yeah. Don't be planning to have salad at the end of the meal.
No.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yucky.
Imagine if they came up to you in that restaurant, they said, how many of these salads would you like? Did you accidentally order too much? Like,
she's eating escargot, snails, and one slips away. She's like slippery little suckers.
And importantly, this company does not want to be sold.
No, the old man doesn't want to let the company go.
And this is where we basically see now that there's a little bit of like, maybe she's going to start impacting on him and breaking down that ice wall and melt the ice caps of Richard Gere and raise the sea levels of his affection, you know, and make him more like a real normal person. I'm worried about the planet. Also, she's leaning on the balcony going like, look, no, I'm getting an adult. Miss Julia Roberts was dangerous and joking about it.
Well, Richard Gere says he's very scared of heights, and so she's doing this to rile him up. We establish he's scared of heights. What we also establish while she's chatting is that the nature of their jobs apparently is kind of similar. The phrase, we both screw people for money, is an interesting one there. I'm like, maybe we're not so different after all. And they're starting to talk a bit more personally. There's a bit more kind of bonding going on.
He is opening up a little bit. You find out about how his dad died and he had like not spoken to him and all. And this guy's the poster child for like, you know, heroic Hollywood's like toxic masculinity. It's like, oh, it's so sexy. His dad died. He didn't even speak to him for 14 years.
But he eventually goes downstairs for a bit. She's wondering where he is. He's downstairs playing piano because he's actually a sensitive cultural guy. And that's pretty appealing, Richard Gere playing the piano. So much so that they get frisky down there. And that includes pressing a few keys by accident when they're kind of, you know, trying to get it on a piano. Which is very
Oh, is that because they couldn't watch the viral video? They're like, look, we'll just simulate the noise of the lady falling by going...
She says to him the next morning, I think, that shopping wasn't as fun as she thought it was going to be.
Because they're all poshos.
They were mean to her. And he says, mean to you? And so he immediately decides to sort this out, take her down to a different shop and spend an obscene amount of money there. His words.
Yes.
Obscene amount. Lots of money. Spend it at the shop.
Pretty woman. On down the street, pretty woman, like the ones on Wiki Feed, pretty woman. I wanna upload and crop those
The shop assistant lad here is very funny. Sir, exactly how obscene an amount of money are we talking about? Profane,
he's like positively licking
really
his lips, like,
and
this guy.
Yeah, really offensive. I like him so much. Oh.
And this is what I like, right?
Yeah.
Pretty woman. Puts it in. I love any montage of people trying on lots of different outfits. Always a winner, right? We got that. We got the montage. And then she walks down the street just in time for the music.
Woman. Yeah. What we don't get, unfortunately, in the montage of trying on nice things is the going into a dressing room, coming out of the dressing room with the new thing on, and then cut to the other people going, thumbs up, or kind of like middling,
really
or thumbs down.
wacky one. Like, you know, she'd come out with like parachute pants and be like, no, Julia, you shouldn't wear those. You know.
We don't get that, but we do get lots of fun trying on clothes. And she walks down the street in the nice clothes, and now she's dressed all fancy.
Nines.
She goes into the mean shop from the other day and says, I was here yesterday. You wouldn't serve me. You work on commission, right? Big mistake. Big. And is that iconic, that line? Is that a big thing?
It's big mistake. Huge.
It
really sounds like something that like a parent would say. Big mistake. Huge. Your father's going to hear about this.
Not big mistake, big, which is what I thought it was. Big mistake. Big.
Wait, what kind of mistake was it again? Big. As I said, big.
Big mistake, you know? Huge mistake.
You know what? I felt that she could have really rubbed it in a lot more than she opted to.
But she's classier than that.
Isn't she?
She could have really caused a whole nightmare in that shop.
Oh, I would have fucked shit up, like.
Oh, yeah, I would have knocked things over and then thrown money at it, like a, you know, Bullingdon Club type situation. But but that's me. She doesn't do that. And so they get back and they have a big personal chat. I think they're in the bath. And this is where the dad stuff comes up. His dad was rich, divorced his mum, took all the money with him, but he then ended up buying his dad's company and then selling that piece by piece. And the thing that stood out to me about this scene was he was talking about going to see a therapist and stuff like that. And Julia Roberts described her legs being 44 inches each as a combined 88 inches of therapy.
So
Now-
one really long leg. Which is kind of like, I mean, Julia Roberts, she is beautiful, but I think Julia Roberts with one leg stacked on top of the other, and it's kind of like
one big long leg,
like long kind of alien. No, I think that'd be quite horrifying.
It would be, but something about the phrase 88 inches of therapy just jumped out to me. That's an amazing thing to say. It's an amazing way to describe legs. But yeah, fabulous stuff.
We have a little bit of time at polo, which is definitely the weirdest of the sports. I was disappointed as a child to find out that water polo does not include horses with swimming goggles on, but whatever, man. And they can wear the big snorkels and be all... It'd be really fun.
Is polo horseback hockey?
It's either horseback hockey or like horseback... What's that other thing? Croquet. It's one or the other.
Yeah. Horseback hockey sounds like a beer or something, doesn't it? A nice pint of horseback hockey.
Yeah, or like some sort of like designer drug from like RoboCop 3 or something like, you know.
He's hooked on the old horseback hockey, if you know what I'm saying.
Horseback hockey, like, you know what I mean? Like. Now, I like about polo is that it's meant to be really sophisticated and classy, but they use air horns all the time, so there's just loads of like louts running around on horses going... which is not really as elegant as all that.
No, but we do get some posh, judgmental people. The comments like, oh, so you're the flavour of the month. And one of Edward's girls. It's a pleasure to meet one of Edward's girls. Ugh. I don't like that. No.
I like the ceremonial stomping of the divots.
Yeah, come on, let's all stomp on some divots. As we all know, that sounds like a bit of fun, doesn't it? Stomping on a divot.
But basically what starts happening here is he gets a little bit jealous. He sees her talking with the grandson of the company owner, and he starts...
good. That's a good thing.
She's networking the fuck out of it for him.
Out. That gets that man on side for his business, but he's too bloody jealous.
And he gets awkward, and he starts being like mean, and the questions start from everyone. I think he freaks out, like he's realised that he might somehow be embarrassed by all of this.
Yeah, and so George Costanza asks him, you know, is this some sort of corporate espionage? She seems like she might be a spy or something, and she's going to bring that information back to these guys.
Stop trying to make her even sexier. Like, you don't need that now. Come on, don't be saying she's a spy. Like, come on.
He divulges what her profession is, which Jason Alexander's character...
I just call him George in this, to be honest.
He says... bargain basement streetwalker is a phrase that comes out of his mouth. I'm like, Jesus. I mean...
oh, George.
Some of the stuff where we're like, hey, this hasn't gone too badly, but there is some stuff. Most of that comes out of Jason Alexander's mouth and actions.
But I mean, like, you know, here's the thing. He's the fucking villain of the piece. He's talking down to her. Yeah. That's kind of like, in many respects, it's to be expected. But it is also, I guess, a reminder of the backdrop to which this movie is being set, and the kind of the style of Hollywood at the time, and the verbiage on offer for this.
Maybe his interpretation of this might be representative of a lot more people than there would be now. Like, his reaction is kind of, seems then not reasonable, but like a lot of people would react like that in the same way, which is unfortunate.
It's unreasonable but relatable, I think, for the time, I think was what they were going for. But yeah, they have a big fight at the hotel, and they do the typical thing in all these Hollywood fights where she gets very distraught and emotional, and he just gets all cold and shitty. Ugh.
Yeah, you are a hooker and you are my employee. I mean...
he doesn't really apologise for any of this shit, does he?
No, well,
he just says... she says, you hurt me, don't do it again. She basically just forgives him.
Yeah.
Kind of.
He comes out and just says, I was angry and jealous and I did a bad thing. And so, yeah, you hurt me, don't do it again. Seems quite powerful, but also, I don't know. It's like, you know... I don't know how I feel about this fight. It kind of doesn't go anywhere, really.
I mean, seeing as this is the fight, every romantic, you know, movie of this ilk will have a big fight scene. This is the fight. It's funny to show, like, kind of like how like the Hollywood standards are back then, because like I think if you had I saw Marriage Story recently, and the fight in Marriage Story is like, that's modern couples fighting, folks. That's fucking like people are actually like both parties being equally distraught. And I hate this fucking Hollywood thing of like it's a statue and a weeping willow side by side, you know, caricature like shit. And then he gives her a necklace and everything's okay. Yay!
Now the necklace is on loan and would ordinarily, if you just bought it, cost $250,000. The little snapping the box shut on her fingers when she goes into it.
That was improv.
The reaction was you could tell it was genuine. And it was very
it was
cute.
like a goof at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But it speaks to Julia Roberts' like ability to tap into that real life kind of pure joy, happiness and whatnot.
That was a real sweet moment.
It is. I love as well, like, all the stories was like, keep an eye out for the famous necklace scene, because Richard Gere actually did that to cheer her up because she was having a bad day on set.
Right.
So just think about it. I know it went well, but think about this. On set, Richard Gere thought, oh, Julia's having a hard time. Now, obviously, we're into production. I know she's broken out in hives several times during some of the awkward sex scenes and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm a much more established Hollywood presence. Maybe I can make her feel at ease. Can you give me one of the PAs over there? Yeah, hi, sorry, honey. Could you get me the box for the jewellery? Because I want to see if I can snap it on her fucking fingers.
To make her feel better. This prank
wait, is this
will do
because
it.
she's upset? Yeah, no, I'll get that for you now. Hang on.
So they go on a gosh darn private jet
Pure Ric Flair treatment. Limousine, private jet, opera.
to New York, I think, maybe? Yeah.
The home of the opera.
Hey, I'm opera here. They're in a posh box at the opera.
So actually, wait, are you telling
Yeah.
me in opera, the bit where they're going, they're actually saying, here I'm walking here.
Yes. That's what all opera is about.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Now, he does some kind of posh wank here that I didn't quite like about explaining
Sorry,
the
he
opera.
does some posh wank
Some
here?
posh wank. No, he doesn't have a posh wank, but he speaks in a posh wanky way about opera, saying
So
that
was he hanging on to all those condoms from earlier? Was that what he...
yeah, the gold one for a particular poshness. You either love opera the first time or you don't love it straight away. At that point, you can learn to appreciate it, but it never becomes part of your soul.
Jesus Christ, no pressure on the...
Fuck off.
So Richard Gere is making you watch Cowboy Bebop on your first date. If you don't love it straight away, you can learn to appreciate it.
But it never becomes part of your soul.
part of your soul.
But... thankfully, I guess it has become part of her soul because she's moved to tears.
I'm actually scared to go see opera for that reason.
Yeah. Have you ever? You've not ever been to the opera?
Never been to an opera.
I don't think I have.
I'm a devotee of the lively arts, folks. I love to go see anything live. I think seeing live dance, live musicals, any sort of live performance, I'm always down for that. And I always try, even shitty community theatre stuff like low rent. I love seeing that as well.
In the moment,
always
it's
great.
live.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But opera, even though Manchester's got an opera house, I believe.
Yeah.
Because of that very reason, I've had Joe's grandparents who are big opera heads. I've had a lot of my uncles and aunts are big opera heads, and they've all said the similar kind of it'll be like a 4-hour stint now, so pick your first one carefully and do your research beforehand. I'm like, I don't want to research something that I might not like, and also it's like a bajillion pounds.
There is still very much a financial barrier to entry and a cultural, I feel, barrier to entry that in the opera it is the thing for posh people, innit?
I think I would I wouldn't feel out of sorts in a lot of places. Being tall and Irish in England gets you that edge because people feel awkward around you anyway. You've got the advantage.
But at the opera,
I don't know, maybe they don't know about the black and tans at the opera. Maybe I won't be able to rile them up with my fight songs.
But she says it was so good I almost peed my pants. Again, to kind of upset some posh people. And Richard Gere says she said she liked it more than Pirates of Penzance, which is
more than Pirates of the Caribbean as well, folks.
Of a scene in Star-Shaped, the documentary about Blur, wherein Alex James is teasing Graham Coxon, and he says, "Tickle my arse with a feather, Graham." And Graham says, "What?" And he says, "Particularly nasty weather, Graham." And it's just that kind of great, fun time banter that really solidified Blur as a unit throughout the 90s. What a great band they were.
So you're saying that Julia Roberts and Richard Gere here, they're Blur.
They're Blur. They're Blur.
And if you were to pick any other pairing from Cinema Swirl Past to be Oasis?
Oh, okay.
The Rivals?
Right. You need a fractured relationship, a loving but very kind of...
What, Han and Chewie a little bit wah, come on now, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
And them sideburns, Gallagher. Ooh, which one? I'll never tell.
Han and Chewie. One of the Gallagher brothers is Chewie, and it's definitely Liam. I'm gonna say it right now.
So he's giving her the big kind of like, this is special move he's done here, because he's done everything he can offer. He's given you the Ric Flair treatment of the private jet, the big limo, opera, fancy meal, all that. You've got the fucking jewels on hire. That's my big fucking A1 move. Yeah. And then she's like, okay, we're going to have a day off tomorrow. You're going to take a day off, and I'm basically going to do my shit. Like, I'm going to give you my A1 day. And they like go to, like a regular diner, and they go to the park, and they're just doing normal stuff.
Yeah.
And like, that's nice to see. Now, there was one bit that did perturb me though, where they're walking around and she's like, oh, let's go over here. Let's grab a hot dog and then we'll cop a squat. I'm like, whoa, okay. Now, from The Sopranos and other things, I always thought cop a squat meant take a shit.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
And he's like, whoa, cop a squat. He's like, yeah, let's cop a squat here. And she points like near a tree. I'm like, Jesus, Julie, it's broad daylight. Like,
so this feels like a kind of cultural exchange. He's taken her to the opera, and she's
let's go shit in the fucking park.
She's showing him what the common people do, and maybe to him he might have been like, I guess these people shit in the park.
I guess this is what
that's part of it.
I know it's called the common, but. So, and now it's just sitting down, and then we get another sex scene, but this is the sex scene. All these ones they kind of cut away from, you only see bits of. This one, there's a lot more implied nudity, and there's kissing as well.
On the mouth.
On the mouth. Kiss her right on the hives.
Yes. And she says, while I think she thinks he's asleep, that she loves him, but he opens his eyes and he hears it. So this has gone, and this is only over the course of a week, remember. This has gone very romantic, and she's in love.
And it's basically now, what do you actually want out of this? And both of them are kind of questioning that a little bit. And it gets a bit heated again. The really upsetting line, which is, I never treated you like a prostitute. You just did. Boom!
Yeah.
Huge.
He's like, I'm going to go back to New York. But hey, I'll sort you out with an apartment, money, clothes, whatever you want.
Baby.
Like, that's not what she wants.
That's not part of the deal.
She wants a white knight like me to come up there and say, you look better without the makeup and the wigs. No, she wants a white knight to come and rescue her. Not the knight in her dreams as a child never said, come on baby, I'll put you up in a great condo. You know?
Also, yeah, it's weird that you fantasize about the night in your dreams if it's a child. I'm just saying, Julia, you got to move on from that, like, you know. Eddie beefs the deal in the meanwhile because he decides he wants to help the company as opposed to gut it out and have to build something.
He's changed. She's changed him.
He's changed by osmosis, and all it took was copping a squat in the field. That's all he needed to do.
You just got shit in the park sometimes, and it changes your whole perspective.
And I'm not going to lie, we're like literally into the last 10 minutes of the movie, thereabouts, it feels like here now, and I was like, the naivety aside, like, and I thought Louis Theroux's documentary on sex workers was a bit one-sided. This is a very naive version of events and all that jazz. But I was thinking, all right, it's held up all well, nothing too egregious. And then George decides he's gonna fucking assault her, and this is like way out of left field. I know he's like a bit of a baddie, but he's literally like knocks on the door. It's like, oh, you're a prostitute, I'm gonna rape you, and then he punches her and like is on top of her choking.
Yeah, he's gone from a bit of a sleazeball to actual rapist very quickly because he's upset about a business deal by the sounds of things.
There's nothing beforehand that actually gives any sort of... This is so strange.
This is some extreme villainy here.
I mean, you know what? I guess some people could look at it and say, oh, well, this is indicative of like how little some people thought of and still think of sex workers.
Yeah.
That they think the rules about, their protection aren't the same as other people, and they think there's that may be so, but even still, it's a fucking... To make that point is quite scary, and to do it like this is even scarier, because it's quite PG-13 up until this point.
I mean, Vivian makes that sort of point a little bit later, because Edward comes in, punches George Costanza in the face, and tells him to go. Which is almost an underreaction still, to just beat him up and say, go away. Also, the thing he says to him is, it's the kill you love, not me, about their relationship, George and Edward. I know it's not called George, but, I don't know. They're talking about business, and then he goes away.
Call the police!
Yeah, I know. The crime has been committed. She says, I'll punch you and go away. She says, there'll always be some guy like that, thinking he can do that, thinking that's allowed. What are you going to do? Beat up everybody? And I was hoping that at this point Richard Gere said, yeah, I could give it a go.
Where are they? I'll go get them.
Try and beat up everybody.
I'll spark them all out. And then, she leaves, It is sad. It feels like their relationship has changed forever. And then we get some more 80s fucking bangers. It must have been a goal, but it's offside now.
Yeah, so she's going home because he wants her to stay the night with him, not because he's paying her, but because she wants to, and she says she can't. And so she gets to go home.
She's going to go to San Francisco.
Admittedly, gets to go in a limo.
Yeah.
She gets a nice go in the limo because Barney, the hotel manager, is very sweet to her and is quite... He turned around, didn't he, from the start where we see him, and he's a bit...
He was.
Yeah,
And
he's
you know what?
soft-hearted.
I feel we've not talked a lot about Barney, but I think he's actually low-key one of my favourite bits of the movie. Because, like, he's so good at, like, catering to what she needs and also catering to what Richard Gere's character needs as well. He's like this kind of like middleman who he isn't necessarily trying to make them get... He's not Cupid or anything, but he's a great facilitator, and I love like a character like that who just kind of in the background is busying away. He's real good, yeah.
He is good. So when Richard Gere wants to return the necklace, I think he's giving it back to Barney and saying, can you go sort this out and get this back? And he says, oh, it must be difficult letting go of something so beautiful. Ooh. Ostensibly talking about the necklace, but he's not really talking about the necklace, is he? You know, he's trying to push them together. This all gets very mushy.
Meanwhile, Vivian is basically proving the defunct idea of trickle-down economics, as she's like, yeah, I've been given some money and hope by a very rich man, so I'm giving you a smaller bit of money and hope as well. And she's like, wow, you're going to go get your grade 10 San Francisco, I'm going to go to like beauty school or something. The system works.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure Richard Gere's in big business, folks.
But he comes back, doesn't he? Here he comes.
He does. And you know what? You point out the thing about his fear of heights, which he downplays so much, I almost went over my head, you know, the fact that he climbs up the fire escape.
Thing. Yeah.
He comes
getting over it.
blaring opera out as well at her. He's got the roses. It's sweet. It's a cute ending. It's heartwarming. I'm not going to lie, Sam. In the last like 5 or so years, particularly the last couple of years in this podcast, I think I've said that I cry a lot easier at movies now. And I feel I do get quite emotional about a lot of things in movies these days.
Sure.
But this did not, like, remotely come to a tearjerker. But it had me doing a solid, now would you look it?
So what happens after he climbs up the tower and rescues her? She says, she rescues him right back.
Oh!
Roll credits. We're out of here.
We're out of here.
Pretty woman. Walking down the street.
Yeah. Sam... We've obviously talked about ways which we thought the movie could have potentially aged badly, but didn't, but also did. We seem to have had a lot of fun here with this one. I mean, this was a romp, I thought.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a romp. I think it was fun. I think Julia Roberts shines in this. I think Richard Gere is in this.
There's certain people who you like see and you like, I understand they have like a mega star charisma about them.
Yeah.
And I think Julia Roberts is one of those people for definite.
I can see how this sort of launched her career into the stratosphere. That's what I'm saying. Richard Gere, I didn't mean to dunk on him there. They do have some chemistry. The chemistry's great. The soundtrack is great in this.
Oh, it's one of the best actually in movies that we've done, honestly.
Yeah, it's really good. It is quite romantic.
It's corny, is it? It's safe to say?
Yeah, it's corny. There's some sweet stuff going on. There's some funny lines.
Like, did you find yourself watching this that, you know, we've watched a lot of movies where a lot of the cliches come from for action and comedy and whatnot. Did you notice, like, a lot of, like, romantic comedy cliches or kind of romance movie cliches in this one? I think we did mention some along the way, but...
A couple of montages. I mean, some of the stuff that he says is just kind of, like, a bit smarmy and wanky and deliberately just kind of like there to be interesting and kind of aloof and romantic. At one point he says, I know about wanting more, I invented the concept. What does that even mean? But he's, you know, this is full of quotes and moments and bits and bobs.
Would you watch it again? Would you watch this as a date night movie?
Oh, maybe, because it is quite sweet, isn't it?
In it,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you take your kind of forget me now about like the realities of sex or compared to how it's necessarily portrayed.
Yeah.
And also you don't care about like some of the other themes and what, you know, I think there is a daft fun time to be had here.
I'm not 100% sure what the message of this is.
Yeah, no, that is true. What is the message?
I'm thinking about it, I'm like, What is the message here?
Because a lot of people could say the message of this is you could take anyone, even like a sex worker, give them loads of money and a makeover, and then they can be anybody they want to be.
Is that a good message?
It's not really, no, because I just say cash is king is seemingly the message of this movie.
Money is great.
It is. It will solve all your problems because money will give you the ambition and the drive to solve all of your problems. That's what they're saying. We're not saying that, by the way.
Because there's still the case that none of this would be able to happen without money going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in
heavy. Even at the end where it's like, oh, I've come to rescue you and just, have a nice normal relationship. I'm not going to put you up in a condo or anything. But it still all comes down to he's really rich and that's why this is okay and everything's fine.
Yeah, like if this is your ideal romance, and your ideal romance is either finding someone rich or finding someone with which your wealth is like a massive boon to them.
Yeah.
Then cool. But I mean, not every romance movie from Hollywood has to be a fucking ideal thing that holds up in the 21st century. And this probably doesn't under those ideals. It's still a fucking romp with sexy people being very, very good at acting. And it's funnier than I remembered it being.
Yeah. It has some funny bits. Yeah.
Now, would you watch it again, do you think?
I wouldn't be opposed to watching it again.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't instinctively pop this on at some point in the future, but if it was on, I would watch.
Okay, and with that being said, what are you thinking?
This is I'm thinking about Star Wipe ratings in my head.
This is tough now,
This is really difficult. Okay.
Have you any issues with the movie outside of vague feelings about the theme of it or whatever?
The feelings about the themes are there. The kind of moral message is I'm not 100% sure I'm behind it. I don't really fully get it. But there's great performances, great music. I don't know if this film looks amazing. It looks pretty standard.
I mean,
but that's not a prerequisite.
Shoulder pads, am I right, guys? I mean,
my Star Wipe feeling is that this falls somewhere between 3 and 4.
Okay. Do you want to invoke the half measure rule?
I thought that was banned, but again, the rules have gone out the window several times over.
What actually had been pointed out was the rules had already been out the window, so it's Wild West now as far as we're concerned.
I feel like this is a 3.5 Star Wipe film in so much as it's good. It is good. It is good.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I don't know if it's a 4. So I'm going to say 3.5, 3.5 Star Wipes.
Final answer?
That's my final answer.
Final answer.
Yeah.
3.5 Star Wipes. You heard it here first.
Hey, thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, it was edited by me, Sam, and the music was also by me. If you want to support the show directly and get access to our monthly bonus show, Cinema Swirl, patreon.com/Cinema Swirl is the way to go. If you want to follow us on the socials, we're at Cinema Swirl on Twitter and facebook.com/Cinema Swirl on Facebook. If you have any questions, queries, comments, or other stuff for the mailbag, then please send them on in to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to friends or leaving reviews on whichever podcast thing you use. Hey, we're now on Spotify as well. If that's your preference, you can head over to Spotify and search for Cinema Swirl. Alright, see you next time. Bye.